Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Matthew Rose, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Davidson. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
we pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Charles Gordon Howie. Born in Ipswich, Queensland on the 12th of November 1922, Charles Gordon Howie was the son of Charles Gordon Howie Sr. and Agnes May Howie. The young Charles Howie attended North Ipswich State School and then Ipswich Technical College. A keen sportsman, he played hockey, football and cricket. Following school, Howie worked as a labourer and served in the Royal Australian Engineers in the militia. On the 6th of December 1941, Howie enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force and then began training as an air gunner. Before long, he embarked in Sydney for overseas service. Before he left, however, he married Jean Dulcie Mavis in October 1942. As part of the Empire training scheme, Howie was one of the almost 27,500 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in Britain in April 1943, Howie undertook further specialist training before being posted to No. 460 Squadron in August 1943. No. 460 Squadron would become the most highly decorated Australian squadron in Bomber Command, and in the squadron that suffered the highest casualties. Flying twin-engine Vickers Wellingtons, medium bombers, and then the 4-engine Arvo Lancaster heavy bomber, the squadron lost over 1,000 men. Australian, British, Canadians, New Zealanders and South Africans. Almost 600 Australians from the 460 Squadron are listed here on the Roll of Honour. After taking part in a large raid on Berlin on the night of the 16th and 17th of December 1943, the Lancaster, which Howie was the navigator, circled No. 460 Squadron's home station of Binbrook in heavy fog and low cloud, before crashing near the village of Market Stainton in Lincolnshire. Howie and all 6 crewmates died. Fellow Australians, Captain Francis Randall, Flying Officer Harold Dedman, Flight Sergeant William Halstead, Flight Sergeant Reginald Moyner, Flight Sergeant Harry Peterson, and British crewmate Jack Mackenzie. Charles Howie was 21 years old. In a letter to the families of the dead, the commander of No. 460 Squadron wrote that he had lost one of its best crews. The crew were buried side by side in the Cambridge City Cemetery on the 23rd of December. Because of the heavy losses suffered by Bomber Command squadrons from the enemy action and bad weather during that night's raids on Berlin, the night became known as Black Thursday. That night's operation is featured in the Striking by Night exhibition that features G for George in the Anzac Hall, here at the memorial. Charles Howie's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the poolside of Reflection. But this is one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Charles Gordon Howie, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with the poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you a very good evening.